Hey everyone, this is Tony Teaches Tech. I'm Tony, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to create a website on the Oracle Cloud free tier. Now, this is pretty much a 100% completely free website. They have this always free tier on the Oracle Cloud, and that's what we're going to work through today. I'm going to set up a VM. We're going to install some software on there, associate a domain name with it. The domain name you will have to pay for, but other than that, the service itself, the hosting, is free. And you get a certain amount of benefits with that, which I will explain in this video. This is a slightly technical video, but the cool thing is I'm going to walk you through every step of the process, including the account sign up, the spin up of the VM, and all that stuff. So if that's something you're interested in, then let's go ahead and hop right on into the tutorial. Okay, so go to oracle.com/cloud/free, and you'll come to a page that looks similar to this. Now, what we're working with is the always free cloud services, okay? So this is a highlight of what you're gonna get with those always free cloud services. But what we're gonna do is take advantage of one of these virtual machines, okay? And there's going to be a lot of stuff here that we go through for the setup process of the VM, but as long as you follow through with the choices that I make, then you don't have to worry about having to pay for any of it. Okay, so let's click on this button that says start for free. And what we're going to do is type in your information. So I'm going to pick my country. I'm from the United States. And type in my name, last name, and my email. And prove that I'm a human. We have to do one of these. Okay, then verify your email. Okay, so Oracle has sent an email verification link to my email address, so that's opened over here, and this is just verifying that you actually own that email, so we'll do that, and that has been verified. Now, the next thing that we want to do is create a password, optional company name, an account name, and a home region. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then finally pick a home region, which for me, I'll pick US West Phoenix. Okay, so click on continue and fill out your address information. And after you do that, then you have to do the payment verification. Now, you will need some type of payment method to associate with your account. That's not to say that you're going to be charged anything. As it says here, you won't be charged unless you elect to upgrade the account. So this is we're specifically working with the Oracle Cloud free tier. So go ahead and add a credit card to your account, but again, you won't be charged for anything. Okay, so I have added my payment information. I'm going to click close and just click that you agree to the service agreement, and then you can start your free trial and let that happen. Okay, so once you have your account, you're going to come to a dashboard that looks something similar to this. And what you can do is click on create a VM instance. But just in case this option isn't here, which by the way, it is always free eligible, you can also come to the 3 hamburger menu over in the upper left hand corner, come to compute and go to instances. Now this is my account that I've already worked with before. As you can see, it's in a different region than the one I just showed you. It's in Ashburn. So I was playing around with this prior to this tutorial, but like I'm saying, the alternative is to click on create instance, and that's going to take you to the same exact place. So what we're going to do is create our always free VM machine. We can call it whatever you want. I'm going to call mine Tony's VM. And what we're going to do is configure a couple options in here. So for placement, we're not going to do anything. I just want to show you that you have options of which domain you want to associate that with. The default is just fine because, again, it is always free eligible. Now the image and shape, we're going to install, the default is Oracle Linux, obviously because we're using oracle.com, but we can change that to be another operating system. So let's do an Ubuntu operating system, which again, this one is always free eligible. We'll do a full installation of 20.04. So we'll select that image, and you can pick something else like CentOS, or you can keep Oracle as well. Now for the shape, this is talking about the processor and the memory. So the always free eligible option is the 1 core, 1 gigabyte of memory, half a gigabit per second network bandwidth, AMD micro instance. I do want to point out that this one, yes, it's always free eligible, but there's also another option in here. AMD doesn't have any, Intel doesn't have any free options, but the free option for Ampere, I think that's how you say that, is this VM standard A1 Flex, which has one CPU core and 6 gigabytes of memory with 1 gigabit per second networking. Now, the reason that I'm not going to pick this one for the tutorial and I'm just going to stick with the default, this one right here, is because if we look at the always free resource page, you'll see that the micro instance with the AMD processor, you get 2 free VMs using this shape. Whereas I'm not really sure I completely understand the fact that you get the first 3,000 OCPU hours and 18,000 gigabyte hours per month for free. So it seems like at some point you will hit a limit, but in order to, avoid that completely, let's just stick with the micro instance in this case. So back over here, we will stick with that. And then for networking, we'll do a little bit of networking configuration later. So we'll keep the defaults as they are right now. But for the SSH key, let's go ahead and generate a key pair for me. So let's save the public key and the private key. And that looks good. And we'll use that to SSH to log into the server in the future. And then for the boot volume, technically, well, by default, we're getting 46.6 gigabytes of space in our default boot volume. Again, according to the documentation, we can have up to, let me see if I can find this real quick, storage, it's 200. Yeah, so block volume, all tenancies receive a total of 200 gigabytes of block volume storage. So if you have 2 VMs, each one of them can have 100 gigabytes, or you can put one VM with 200 gigabytes. But again, for this tutorial, I'm just going to stick with the default volume size. You can come check this box and pick a size for the free tier up to 200 gigabytes. Okay, so that's it for the configuration. Let's go ahead and create that. And this will take a little bit for it to spin up. So we'll just fast forward through this process and I'll catch up with you when it finishes. Okay guys, about 1 minute later tops, we have our VM instance up and running, as you can see here. A couple points of information. We can see that our public IP address is this right here, ending in .59. So we'll want to take note of that. And also the username is Ubuntu. So that's how we're going to access it via SSH. But first, let's do some configuration for this instance as far as networking is concerned. So let's click on the hamburger menu up here, go to networking and virtual cloud networks. So one of these is automatically created for your instance, so click on that. And what we want to do is click on the subnet and default security list. For that, we're going to dive down in here. And what we're going to do is add an ingress rule to allow HTTP connections over port 80. So basically, you can just do this verbatim, what I'm going to do here. So for the source, you're going to do 0.0.0.0/0. The protocol, that's fine for TCP. The port range for the source is fine. We're just going to specify 80 for the destination. And basically, this is allowing allow HTTP connections. Okay, so we'll add that ingress rule, and we should be good with networking from the panel perspective here. So if we're going to go back to our compute instance, we can do that and look at the information for that again. And this is what we're working with. So let's connect to this via SSH. So we'll copy our IP address. I'm going to open up a terminal window. And if you're on Windows, you can use PuTTY to do this. I'll have a link about that, how to connect via SSH to a remote server. And let's go to the desktop, because that's, actually no, they're in our downloads folder, I believe. Let's go to the downloads folder to see our SSH keys. So the one we're going to be working with is the private key. So let's lock that down a little bit. Let's change the permissions for this to 400. And that's just going to be the SSH key itself. Okay, that just makes it a little bit more secure. So now to SSH with that key, we can do SSH-I. And we're going to specify the key that we want to SSH in with, that one right here, the one that we downloaded. and then the username Ubuntu at the IP address, okay? And again, let me show you here. This is the IP address and this is the username. Okay, so with that set up, let's hit enter, and that should, it'll prompt us initially. This is the first and only time it'll do this. Do you want to continue connecting? Yes, we do. And that should put us right into the terminal of our remote VM. So Ubuntu at Tony's VM. So we are on the server that we just spun up. That's really cool. Let's do, as per good practice, let's do an apt update. I guess we'll have to use sudo apt update, and that'll just update the packages that we're looking at. It's not going to update anything locally. As far as packages are concerned, we'll do that next with an apt upgrade. Okay, and now we can do a sudo apt upgrade, and that'll actually upgrade the packages on our system. So this is 395 megabytes of additional disk space. Hit Y and enter, and we'll fast forward through this as well. Okay guys, so with our system up to date, we now have an Ubuntu server, which you can pretty much do whatever you want with. But for those of you who are not familiar with Ubuntu or servers or cloud computing or anything like that, we're going to continue the tutorial and install a website, specifically a WordPress website running on an Nginx web server. Again, if you don't know what a lot of that means, I'm going to walk you through each step of the process. So let's start out with installing those packages. So let's do a sudo apt install. We're going to install the Nginx web server. Okay, that's going to be what allows us to host a website. We're going to use a database called Maria database, M-A-R-I-A DB server -server. And then we're going to use PHP. So PHP, we're going to get PHP, the MySQL package, the PHP curl package, PHP GD, and PHP zip. Oh, and one more, PHP FPM, of course. So these packages combined are essentially called, what we're doing at this point is building a LEMP server, a Linux, Nginx, MySQL or Maria database, and PHP server. That's going to allow us to host pretty much any website that we want. The website that we're specifically going to be hosting is a WordPress website. So let's go ahead and let this happen, and we'll fast forward through this one as well. Okay, so at this point, if we minimize this and copy our IP address and try to navigate to that in a web browser, we're not going to see anything show up because there's one last step that we have to do to open up the port 80, which is the HTTP port. So I'm going to use my cheat sheet over here. And if you guys need to use a cheat sheet as well, instead of typing this off the screen, I do have the commands listed in the description below. So sudo IP tables is basically this whole command is going to open the TCP port 80 and allow connections to that. So let's hit enter, and that's going to open up that port. And now if we type in sudo net filter filter persistent save, that'll save those, so when we reboot the server, that same rule will apply. And as you can see in the background, we are now connected to our web server at our IP address. So we're making really good progress. Now, as far as making a website, a usable website on here, you can do something simple. You can come into the var www HTML directory, which is, and actually we'll cd into that directory, which is going to change our directory into the HTML directory. And you'll see that this is the HTML file that's serving the page that we just saw. So if we want to modify that to say something else, instead of welcome to Nginx, we'll say, I'll get rid of this. Oh, we're changing a read-only file. So actually we have to edit this as sudo. Bear with me for a second. So we can come back in here, and if you do want to edit this file, you can just prefix the command with sudo. And by the way, if you've never used Vim before, I have a tutorial on that as well. Instead of saying welcome to Nginx, let's have it say Tony. Between these two header 1 elements, Tony teaches tech. T-E-C-H. Okay, save that file. Come back to our web browser, refresh the page, And you are already essentially having a website at this point, a basic HTML website. But like I said, we want to create a WordPress website. So let's do that. Let's set up our WordPress database. We can do that with sudo MySQL, and this is going to enter into the MySQL / Maria database command prompt. Okay, so in here, let's create a MySQL user. And when I say MySQL, just I'm referencing Maria database. They're used interchangeably in this case. So the user's name is going to be Tony, and this could be whatever you want for yourself, at local host identified by, and this is his password. So for this case, I'll just do a unsecure password for the sake of this tutorial, like, comment, subscribe. And every MySQL command that you execute needs to be terminated with a semicolon. So let's go ahead and execute that. So we made this user Tony, and his password is like, comment, subscribe. Let's grant all privileges on all tables in this database to Tony at localhost. Okay, so that's going to give Tony the permissions that he needs to use this database. Okay, so let's create the actual database, and we'll call it WordPress database, WPDB. And then we will flush privileges to save those changes, and we'll get out of here. So that takes care of our database setup. Now for WordPress itself, let's go to, let's grab the source code for WordPress. So we can do that with sudo wget https://wordpress.org/latest latest.tar.gz, and that's going to download that archive onto our computer, or onto the server I should say, at this location var www.html. And then when that's finished, we can extract it and pretty much put it in this same directory where our index file is to serve that content, the WordPress content. Okay, so with an ls, we can see that that archive has been installed. Let's remove the HTML file. We can do that with rm, and I think it's going to ask us for sudo permissions. So yeah, let's do sudo rm index.nginx.dbn.html. So right now we only have the latest.tar.gz file in this directory. So let's extract that. Let's do sudo tar xvfz. Those are some arguments for the tar to extract that, and then give it the name of the tar file. So latest.tar.gz, and that's going to extract everything into a WordPress directory. And we actually, I think I should have put that at the HTML level. So let's just take everything out of the WordPress directory and put it into the HTML directory. So to do that, I'm going to say move everything from WordPress into this current directory. That's the syntax for that. And then we'll have to do sudo for that. Sudo move WordPress, everything in there to this current directory. And then let's remove the latest.tar.gz file. I keep forgetting I need to do prefix everything with sudo. sudo, okay, and then sudo, let's remove the WordPress directory. So we'll do sudo rm-rf to remove a folder, WordPress, hit enter. So now we have all of our WordPress content in the www.html directory. Okay, at this point, let's go ahead and add a domain name to our website. So right now we're accessing our website via an IP address. This is the IP address. I'm going to copy that. And regardless of wherever you got your domain name from, I got mine from Namecheap, but if you got yours from GoDaddy or DreamHost or Google Domains, the concept of adding a DNS record is going to be similar. So pretty much open up wherever you got your domain name from and find the domain name that you want to associate with it. I'm going to use tonys.surf. I'm going to click on that Manage button, go to the DNS section for that domain name, And I already have two A records here. If you don't, you'll have to add a new record of type A, and one for the host itself with the @ symbol. We're going to put the IP address of our VM, which is this right here, and then one for www.tonys.surf. Let's put the same IP address in there. So we'll save those changes so that way when somebody goes to tonys.surf in their address bar, they're actually going to go to this IP address, which, as you already saw, we have the website there. So let's minimize that. That's all we need to do for that type of configuration, and open up our terminal window again. And in here now we can tell our web server, which is Nginx in this case, that we have a domain name. So we can do sudo vim etc nginx sites available. And in here, you just have one file. It's called the default Nginx configuration file. We're going to modify this. So we're going to tell inside the server block right here. You can see the server block opens on this line. We're listening on port 80. The root of our website is at var www.html. And the server name is going to be tonys.surf and www.tonys.surf. So that's my domain name. Now for the for PHP, WordPress uses PHP, so the index file is going to be something called index.php. And you might have noticed that earlier when we were looking at the WordPress files, but that's something that is whenever somebody goes to your website and doesn't say like tonys.surf/index.php, that's the default one that they're going to go to, the default page. And because we are using PHP down here in the location section, this is commented out by default, but we want to uncomment this because we are using fast CGI. We're going to use the Unix socket in this case because we're using PHP version 7.4, and this directory should exist on your system, and we can verify that's the case. So we'll save our changes. I think that's all we have to do in here, and make sure that this socket file exists, and it does. So that's basically how the web server is going to communicate with PHP. It's a little advanced, but just so you know that that's there. Okay, so now that we made changes to our Nginx file, let's make sure that we didn't make any mistakes, and we can do that with sudo nginx-t, and it says the configuration syntax looks okay, and then test is successful. So that means we can restart the Nginx server to apply those changes with sudo systemctl restart nginx. Okay, no output, so that's a good sign. Let's see if our domain name is pointing to our IP address, and if it is, we should be able to go through the rest of the WordPress install. So let's, instead of going to this IP address, let's go to tonys.surf, S-U-R-F, R-F. I cannot type. Okay, hit enter. Fingers crossed that this connects, and it does. So now, because we put WordPress into the var www.html directory, that content is serving. And let me just show you, by the way, the index.php file exists at that location. So let's go through the WordPress install. Click on Let's Go, and the database name. So this is from a little bit before in our tutorial. The database name I called mine WPDB, WordPress database. The username was Tony, and his password was like, comment, subscribe. We're operating on localhost, and it's okay to add a table prefix WP_ to all of our tables. So what this is going to do when we click submit is to create all of those tables. And if you do have this message, that just means there's a permission issue with wp-config.php. So let's actually take care of that. We must have missed something in one of our steps earlier. So inside of the WordPress or the var www.html directory, we basically just want to do a CHOWN, which means change ownership to www-data user and the www-data group for everything in this directory. And to be explicit, it's basically we're saying in var www HTML directory. And we want to do that recursively. So we'll do the -r flag. I think that's a lowercase. And make sure we prefix that with sudo. So let's execute that. It's a capital R. So to review, we're changing ownership of everything under the var www HTML directory to the user in the group www-data. Okay, so that looks good. Let's try to do that one more time. See if it works. And we have to go through the same steps. So database name, wpdb, username, Tony, password, like, comment, subscribe, and everything else could be the default, subscribe, looks good, submit. All right, very good. So that was what we missed earlier. So let's run the installation. This is now information specific to the blog that you want to set up for your WordPress website, or it doesn't have to be a blog, it could be whatever you want. So I'm going to call mine Tony's blog. The username that's going to log into the WordPress dashboard, what do we want that to be? Let's call the username Tony Teaches Tech, and the password for this, we'll keep this nice strong password here. And then the email associated with your WordPress account is Tony, or for me, it's going to be tonyteachestech@gmail.com. All right, let's go ahead and install WordPress. That'll take just a couple seconds, and let's log into our website. So the username was Tony Teaches Tech for me, and the password I have on the clipboard. Log in, and there we go. So this is the WordPress dashboard. We'll get out of here. You can do a whole bunch of stuff, create posts, create pages, install plugins for additional functionality, change the theme to something else. The default theme right now is this one, 2021. So if you go to the actual blog itself at tonys.surf, this is what you're going to see. Now, if you want to know what to do after installing WordPress, I have just a video for you. Check that out right here. It's 15 things to do after installing WordPress. And if you want an SSL certificate for your website, I also have a video about that. So check out those two videos. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe for more videos like this from me in the future. And if you do, I'll see you in the next one.